Hi guys, welcome back to the Forgetful Scholar. Let's chat about books. One book this week. 80's Trading Montage. So, I was in such a rut this week, so I only got one book done, and it was like a snail pace, even though I really enjoyed myself. Like, I really like this. Oh, look at that nice little zit. Anyway, I really enjoyed myself, but it was like a me thing. You know what I mean? It was my own reading slump, had nothing to do with this book. So, this book this week was actually recommended by Brandy Reads, and it is Halfway to the Grave, a Night Huntress novel, book 1 by Jeaniene Frost. It is a paranormal, urban, fantasy / paranormal vampire romance. Yeah. And this is definitely a 4-star, like a solid 4 stars for me. It is a series. So I'm not going to give it 5 stars because there's like 10 books, I think, in the series. I'm definitely going to try to read the second one and everything. Although last time I checked, the ebook for the second one is like $9. So I'll wait till it goes on sale or something. Because for an ebook, $9? I don't think so. Anyway, let me focus. So Catherine Crawfields, she is the main character. She is the POV we are in the whole time, and she is a 22-year-old living in Ohio who, spoilers, she's half vampire. Now we find out about that like second page, so it's not really that big of a spoiler. I liked what the author was going for in the opening paragraph, because the opening paragraph's basically she's pulled over by the local cops and she's got a dead body in the truck bed. I think it would have been a little more... I get what the author was trying to do. I think if the first sentence was something like, I hope the cop doesn't notice the bleeding body in my trunk, I think it would have done what the author was trying to do a little bit better. Like a little bit. I'm just being semantic here. Like I'm just being a little picky. Now, basically, her mother... I don't remember the mother's name. And I don't care to remember the mother's name. Now, I had sympathy for her for a little bit because Kat, as she likes to be called, is a child of S.A. And she's half vampire, like I said. Her mother is human. So her mother hates all vampires. And her grandparents are very religious. So she lives in the house with her grandparents and her mom. And apparently in this small town... The mom was, because she had a baby out of wedlock, so she was just considered a slut. And I'm like, what age is this? Like, what time period is this set in? Because, like, come on. And I get that the author wanted the main character to be isolated for certain things in the book, in the story. And I understood that. It just seemed a little far-fetched that the mom wouldn't have any friends. That Kat wouldn't have any friends. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. And also, they don't explain how Kat happened. I mean, later on, when we meet the MC hero, we'll talk about later, he's sort of like, oh, a half-breed is incredibly rare. Yeah, like how? Like, I want to know how. And this is just me being a nerd. I want to know how she's possible. Because it doesn't see... Because the vampire male that we meet, Bones... At one point, he's like, if the plumbing worked, I would piss on your grave, to a really perverted ghost, right? So the plumbing doesn't work, right? Okay, fine. But then, like, how is she half? Like, I hope, and again, I know this is beginning in, like, a 10-book series. Or maybe 8 books, because I think the last 2 are the story told from Bones' perspective. I don't really like when writers do that. I feel like it's a little... cash grabby, like, oh, my lipstick is horrible today. Anyway, if you wanted both perspectives, then you could have switched POVs. So, like, I'm like, I don't know. I'm definitely gonna read the rest of the series, but I don't know if I'm gonna read the last 2. Anyway, so I just would like to know how Kat came about, because there's a lot of different kind of vampires out in the literary world, so I would be fascinated to know about that. Is it more like, excuse me, a vampire in the traditional sense, you know, like Bela Lugosi, Dracula kind of thing? Or is it like, thank God it wasn't like Twilight Sparkling Vampire, that I still to this day remain that's more fae lore than, anyway. It's an L.J. Smith kind of vampire from her Night World series, which I love. Meaning like they're just sort of people who drink blood. So that's how that happened, because they have kids themselves. Like, personally, I would love to know how she is half. Anyway, cute dogs crashing at the carpet. Okay. I would love to know that. So basically, Kat, at 16, gets a fake ID and starts going to local bars and hunting vampires. And apparently Ohio is like a paranormal hotbed. And like the rest of the world doesn't know about vampires. They're under the radar. And one night she runs into Bones, who is the male MC. And she tries to do her spiel on him to get him alone to stake him. And he like is amused by her but brushes her off. And like immediately, even though the description doesn't describe him looking like Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I still thought a Spike of Buffy the Vampire Slayer the whole time I was reading it. And that was fine with me. I had a good time with that. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know, like his accent, the way he was snarky with her, it just made me think of Spike, right? Even though description, nothing like Spike. But anyway. So, like, this continues, right? And then she kills a vampire that Bones was wanting to have a violent conversation with. And yes, when Brady Reeds suggested, she said it's hella bloodthirsty, and she's right. You guys know I'm bloodthirsty, and I enjoyed myself, okay? There was a lot. It's a vampire book, right? There's gonna be murders. There's gonna be murder, death, kills. That's just the way it's gonna be, and I had fun with it. And you guys know I'm not really a contemporary romance fan, but I had so much fun with this. So, yay! Anyway. So Bones sees that she kills vampires, right? So he grabs her, interrogates her, and through that, it finds out that no, she's not working for anybody. Because the big bad in the story is called Hennessy. At least that's what we know so far. Hennessy and his silent partner, right? And he's been tracking Hennessy down because they're doing a human trafficking ring that he's trying to stop. And because he's a good vampire. He's a good vampire. As it should be for paranormal romances. You can be an asshole to everybody, but you cannot be an asshole to the other MC. That's just the rules, man. Anyway, they have like a fight, and then he starts training her. And it's like totally 80's montage. You know the old 80's films where like the Karate Kid has to get better, and it's like you see just a montage of him training with kick-ass music, or like the skater boy has to get better to beat the bully or the surfer or something. And again, kick-ass music to them getting better. So that's what I was thinking in my head. The song Eye of the Tiger was playing. Look, I had a fun time, okay? And I had a fun time, leave me alone, okay? So, and then they start hunting together and they get a connection. And I don't mind that him falling in love with her was off the page because we're not in his POV, right? I really liked Kat's personality. And I know this kind of personality, the mistake she made in another book, I would be like, she's so stupid. But this is why, okay? She has this mixture of badass and naivete, right? So through the book, you find out that her mother never held her. Their relationship got better when she started. Her mother knows that at 16, she's going out to kill vampires, right? And Bones is like, that's messed up. If you were my daughter, I would never let you leave the house because you could be killed, right? So there's this acknowledgement, right? Because I thought at first that it was just, you know, a plot hole or just a throwaway thing that the writer put in, didn't care about that the mother was sort of distant and emotionally abusive. Come on, let's be honest. But having Bones acknowledge it and be like, yo, that's effed up, it doesn't become like, oh, it's a plot hole. It becomes the source. It becomes a source of the storyline, right? So acknowledging it makes it part of the storyline. Doesn't make it like a plot hole or a forget throwaway line or anything like this. My hair is so frizzy. Anyway, it makes it a source of the plotline, a source of her personality. So when she is like badass, kick-ass vampire hunter, awesome, love to see it, love it. She also has these moments where she's just a dummy, and not like, oh, she's so dumb, but like it comes off across as very naive. Because like she never had a friend growing up, right? Again, don't really believe that, but whatever. She's in a bar, a vampire bar, and two human boys hand her a drink. Now, my paranoid brain, like, look, go have fun, go to clubs, go to whatever, and if the bartender hands you a drink, be like, oh, this is from so-and-so, fine. But never, ever accept a drink handed to you by someone you don't know. Because there will be, just assume there's stuff in it. There might not be, stuff in it, but there could be stuff in it, right? And better safe than sorry, right? So when she accepted that drink, I was like, honey, no. And then she started getting a headache, and like she started to be dizzy. She couldn't really move, so she was drugged, right? And I was like, oh shit. Like, for that moment, it wasn't like, you dumb bee, because in the story, it was acknowledged how messed up, how neglected her childhood was, and how lonely her child was by the other vampire, right? So instead of it being like a dummy moment, I was like, oh man, this is like a really naive moment that she didn't even think someone would drug her drink, because she would never even think that, because she's been kind of in a weird way sheltered, in a weird way has not experienced anything, even though she's 22, and we get through the story that she's a very caring person. She's always worried about her mom, and she feels like she has to make up to her mom for existing, which is so messed up. Her grandfather had a heart attack, and she put off going to college to take care of the orchard. Like, you see all these little things, how very caring person she is. And you see all these things, how very sheltered in a weird way she is. And you also see how badass she is, because in her POV, she's scared, she's nervous, she does it anyway, which is fantastic. Because bravery isn't about not being scared of anything. It's doing what you gotta do despite being scared of it, right? So we see that. And I really like her personality. I like how snarky she is. I like the banter between her bones. It was interesting though, the whole book, she purposely turned away from difficult things. Talking about difficult conversations, difficult thoughts about her mom not being actually a good mother. Like, all these things she purposely run away from. So it was an interesting thing, and for me that added to her almost childlike innocence that she hasn't really experienced the world, because like she hasn't turned around and faced the hard realities in her own life when it comes to her emotions. So that made me feel how naive she was. That's what it gave to me. I could be overthinking it, but that's what it felt to me, And because she's runs away from her emotions, but has no problem killing vampires, she's a very interesting person, right? And these hard conversations, I was like, oh, this is serious. Maybe we won't get to the her facing the hard conversations. But I was very happy to see that we did, that she actually had to look these things in the eye and really get to the root of, yes, you can have sympathy for her mom because that's a horrible thing. But the fact that she never held her daughter, the fact that she's fine, 16, going after monsters that could easily kill her, there's obviously her mother isn't a good person. Like, there's something, you can't, I have no experience of raising like my SA's kid. Like, I can't say from that experience. I don't know, but like, is it really fair to blame the child, And boy, did she blame the child, to the point where like when she finds out that she's involved with Bones, she like flips out in a horrible, really racist kind of way, where you're like, oh, obviously, right now we're dealing with an analog of racism, wrapped up in paranormal. I get it. I get it. It was well done. I got it. Like, this is a crazy book, and I did not expect for it to go where it went. Like, I expected maybe, I don't want to give too much away because the ending is bonanzas and fun. That's all a little sad. I did not expect like there's secret FBI people coming in wanting to recruit her and like forcibly recruit her. This isn't like MIB where they're like, oh, this will be really good for your career, you should try out for it. It's like, do this or, you know, we're not going to protect your mom and creatures will come after your mother. You know what I mean? And even through her mom, her realizing her mom maybe doesn't even really care about her as much as she cares about her mom, she still protects her mom, which is very sweet. She still loves her mom, even though her mom, halfway through the book, when I read that her mom never held her, I was like, fuck her. Fuck her mom. Fuck you. Screw that. You know, that's not right. She's obviously been emotionally abused and neglected, and that's why it was so hard for her to come to grips with loving Bones, because he's a vampire and she was raised to hate all vampires. They're all evil. And then she finds a vampire that is a good guy. You know, he's trying to stop a human trafficking ring. He steps in when he sees violence against human women. And I loved Bones' backstory, because so often in these books, you know, the vampire is like a count or a duke or a marquis or something, you know, from a noble class. I like that, no, he was a son of an SA worker in the 1700s, you know, and when he got older, he was a thief and he was an SA worker himself, and he got thrown to prison and then sent to Australia, the penal colony at the time. So I like that he wasn't from a noble background. And I really think the fact that he grew up in a brothel was why he was so protective of women, regardless of what species they were, you know? So I liked that kind of backstory for Bones. I really did. So I had a great time. I'm going to check out this writer. I'm probably going to sprinkle in the series on this channel from now on. So Brandy, thank you so much, because I really had fun. And the action scenes were phenomenal. And it's got to be hard to write action. Like I couldn't even imagine. Like I can't even contemplate how you could do it and do it so well that it almost plays out like an action movie in my head. Like that was really fun. That was really great. So I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.